Donc lorsque je flingue, c'est toute ma putain de nation qui flingue avec toi. Tu vois ce que je veux dire?
Welcome back, everyone. This is Puda with 3 rounds. Coach Terry is out today. He's out celebrating TG3's birthday. Happy birthday to the champ. We'll be back. He'll be back next week, and we'll continue going. So, couple of notes before we go to our guest today. We're going to California. I dropped like a new best moments cut featuring Dedrick Crocklum. Check it out. Looked really good against Australia, and something that worth looking at. And then we're following the youth camp and seeing how those weight classes are going to shape up. One of the things that we mentioned is that the some of the weight classes are not Olympic weight class, so we're trying to see how much of an impact it does when the roster is selected. So we'll keep an eye on that. But we're going to go ahead and introduce our guest and bring him in. Let's bring him in here. Hey, champ, how you doing?
Pretty good. How are you?
Good. Hey, I appreciate you taking the time to talk to us for a little bit. It might be a typical time you're training. Maybe I think it's 5 o'clock or so out there, so it's kind of early. So I don't know. Maybe I'm taking you away from some training. So regardless, I appreciate you taking the time to chat here with us. First question. First, go ahead and say your name, city, and state, and the name of the gym that you train at.
My name's David Delgado. I'm from Woodland, California, kind of close to Sacramento, and I train with the Golden State Bloodhounds with Ray Woods.
Golden State Bloodhounds. See, I didn't know the name of the team there, but that's I'm liking that name. Ray Woods, the coach there, familiar with him and what you've done. But first question I like to ask everyone is, how do you get involved? How do you get started with boxing?
So I always wanted to box since I was a little kid, but my parents didn't let me. I think the first fight I seen was Margarito versus Pacquiao. But I didn't start boxing until I was 14. My grandpa was like kind of taking care of me and my grandma, and he said, "You want to box?" And I was like, "Yeah, I've been wanting to." So he just took me to the gym, and then.
Okay. So 14, you're able to compete USA Boxing at 8, so a little bit later than that. Yeah. Did you do other sports or something else prior to boxing?
Yeah, so I played basketball in 7th and 8th grade, and I remember like I really liked it, but I was like, I'm too short. So I was like, that day I realized I was too short, and that's when I started boxing.
Okay, all right. Obviously, basketball, team sport, boxing. You have a coach and other teammates, but it's pretty much yourself in there. More of an individual sport. What were the biggest differences when you did go to the gym, started to train, and probably more importantly, what made you come back?
Well, I like basketball because it was fun, but I didn't really play any sports, but boxing, I don't know. I like since the first day I started, I knew I was gonna be good. I knew I was gonna take it serious.
Okay. So after you got in the gym, around 14, how long did it take before you were out there competing?
So I had my first fight. I was 15. It was in 2019.
2019. Okay.
Yeah,
all right. And then walk us through that. What, it's one thing to spar, go to different gyms or spar at your gym or whatever. Yeah. And to go out there and compete, you got to cry. It's a whole different atmosphere. How did you just walk us through the first bout and how all, that whole thing transpired?
I was nervous. I was really nervous. And then I remember my first fight, there was I was supposed to fight at 120 or no 125, and I was kind of bigger before, so I came in at 124, and the kid I was supposed to fight, he came in at 130, and they were like, "Well, would you guys still want to fight?" And my coach said, "Yeah," and I didn't even know, but the kid was kind of big. He was pretty like he made me look small. And then I remember we were in the ring and the kid was running late and he had a bunch of bruises on his arm. And I was
Ooh.
like, damn, this is probably gonna be a tough fight. Like I was kind of nervous. And then we got in there, he was beating me, and then the dude got tired, and I just went and I stopped him in the second round, I think. Yeah.
Okay, so as normal, getting some jitters or just some butterflies in your stomach just going in there,
Yeah.
but you got a good result. You stoppage. I mean that I'm assuming
Yeah.
about post fight. Like were you back in the gym like right away? Like I'm assuming getting a win, especially in the first fight, you probably got excited to get back in there.
Yeah, I was excited, and then yeah, the next Monday I was back in the gym. Like I didn't think it was that big of a deal because I didn't think about it like that. I just thought it was kind of like sparring, but I was nervous because the dude was like bigger and stronger. But
Okay. Um, and you said the Sacramento area out there. California has a huge amount of boxers kind of spread all over the state. But tell us a little bit about just the amateur boxing scene in your area out there. Is it pretty active? A lot of shows? Is a lot of your competition now at nationals? Like where are you competing, and how is the overall scene out there?
yeah, so it's been getting pretty busy over here in Sacramento, like for the amateur, the local shows. But I've been having a hard time getting show fights at these local shows. So uh, yeah, I went to the Olympic trials, and then then after that I fought in the regional Golden Gloves. I won that fight, and that was my last fight. But yeah, I really don't get too many local fights.
Okay, and then when you're training, for camp for any tournament or whatnot, are you getting your sparring kind of near there? You have to travel to get some sparring while preparation.
Well, there's some sparring around here, but I feel like if you want like better work, yeah, you do have to travel like to Central California and to SoCal and things like that.
How often do you guys travel out there and make those trips for sparring?
Well, like we don't do it too often, but we stay like in house more and we work on different things like with our coach and stuff. But yeah, when we go out, we all go out and we get good work for the whole team when we do travel. So like I'll say like once a month probably we travel pretty far.
Okay. That's kind of the common theme with everybody that we talk to. We've talked to boxers from all over the states. You kind of have to be a little bit of a road warrior. You got to travel.
Yeah.
Not just to get work, but to get to these tournaments, right? I mean, these week
Yeah.
long tournaments, you got to go somewhere and do all that. But um, we'll get to it. You competed the Olympic trials this past December, but if somebody hasn't seen you compete, what kind of boxer are you? Like, how would you describe your style? What are you trying to do when you get in the ring?
I mean, I could box, but I could also put the pressure. But I feel like I'm smart. Like I like to counter, and then it just depends like who I'm fighting, cause I know if I'm fighting a short dude, I'm gonna keep him long. But if I'm fighting someone taller than me, I'm gonna put the pressure on him.
Okay, and that's critical, right? Adapting to
Yeah.
to who's in front of you and making it work. And how many fights do you have so far?
I got almost 40.
Okay, yeah, 40 because you started 19, so I'm assuming you started in 2019. Then you got 2020, you got COVID that pretty
Yeah.
much kind of stalled everything.
Yeah.
How did it get a little difficult to kind of stay, training and doing all that when you knew there was no competition, especially just kind of getting into a sport like that?
Yeah, cause I mean, no one really knew what was gonna happen. It was just weird. Like, am I wasting my time? Like, what's going on? Like, should I even be training right now? But I always knew I wanted to get better, and but it was just hard because you didn't know what was gonna happen.
Yeah, definitely. And so when you got into the sport 2014, I mean this sport is like unlike anybody, any other sport, right? So it's a combat sport, but it's really jealous. You gotta be training on it all the time to really perfect it. How did your family kind of adapt to that, to the knowing that you have to be in the gym all the time, like, and then seeing you compete. I mean, that must have been a different experience, not only for you in there competing, but your family members seeing you get in there and getting hit.
Yeah, I mean, my dad and my two uncles, they're super supportive. My grandpa also. My grandpa was a big part. And then my grandma was soft. She would like cry when I would fight and stuff. But yeah, and then but yeah, I was in the gym. I would miss out. I always miss out on a lot of stuff. But like my dad and my uncles understand that. But my little sisters, they're the ones always talking smack. They always tell me like, oh, you care about boxing more than your family, this and that. And it's like, it is what it is.
Yeah, yeah. That's what happens when you find that thing, right? That whatever your passion is, or whatever you're going to dedicate yourself, it takes up a lot of time, and to you it doesn't feel like it, right? It seems like you're just kind of doing what you need to do, but to people outside looking in, it might look like that's where you're putting your time. So starting in boxing, I don't want to say late. 14 is very young, but kind of late as far as just competition age. When was there a moment that you said, you know what, this is what I'm going to do, like, and you started to kind of focus on it more than learning the sport, but perfecting and maybe taking the sport as far as you can with it?
Since I started, I feel like I knew I was gonna take it serious, but I remember one fight I was gonna fight. Gabriel Flores.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I think it was his half brother or his step brother, but I was gonna fight his brother, and it was against he was gonna be in the corner, and his dad. They were coaching him, but I was nervous because I had seen this dude. Like knock people out and stuff. His name was Andrew, but we got matched up, and everyone was scared to fight him in NorCal. So I was like, whatever. And then I was nervous. This fight, probably the most nervous, but I went in there and I beat him. And then after that, I was like, before the fight, I was thinking, I was like, if I beat this dude, like, this is serious. Like, I gotta take it serious. But and then I beat him. But I would say, like, when I got good was probably when I first went with my coach right now, Ray Woods, 2 years ago in 2022. I think that's when I really like got better.
Okay. Real quick, we're talking. This is 3 Rounds Live, number 188. We're talking to David Delgado out of Woodland, California, I believe is where it's at, near the Sacramento area. Currently ranked number 7 at 112 in the elite division. Talk to us a little bit about that. You touched on it. Coach Ray Woods is who you train under. How did that come about? Because one of the things that we've noticed, Coach Terry and I, is just how important, how critical having a good coach, being taught the right way from early on, and it just becomes fundamental, especially what it takes to kind of be successful in this sport. But tell us a little bit about how you got introduced to your current coach, and just how that relationship kind of started, and it has been going.
So Ray Woods is Diego Chico Corrales.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
So it's his dad, and was also his fighter up until he fought Floyd Mayweather, and then he moved with a different coach. But that's my coach right now, and I was with a different coach, and I didn't really think he took it serious enough. But I remember I had lost a fight, a really close fight, and I was like, I went back to the gym, and I was like, all right, like, what do I got to do to get better? And the coach told me, oh, you're good. And I was like, what do you mean we lost? And so after that, I was like, maybe it's time to go with a more serious trainer with more experience. And Ray Woods was, I thought, the perfect guy, because he's been all over. He's been through the whole sport, world title fights, amateur fights, everything. And I think he's a good coach, especially for the pros.
Awesome. That's great, and that experience, you're in a perfect position where you can kind of feed off a lot of the experience that he's gained. And help you kind of shape, the boxer that you're trying to be. So that's always critical. Um, with and you touched on it a little bit, the demand of this sport that requires you to go a week to a different state for a tournament, or travel, like you said, to get some sparring or whatnot. um, does it get difficult sometimes to kind of stay on course? Like, maybe you don't want to do everything you don't want to take a day off or a week off or whatever, because it gets pretty demanding. How do you stay on course? How do you stay kind of focused to try to reach those goals that you've been setting?
I mean, I feel like if you want to go to a national, like you got to be in shape because there's some real dogs over there. So I mean, that's what I think about it. And you're investing a bunch of money into going, and you got people to make proud, and you gotta make yourself proud. So that the way I see it is, if I'm gonna go to win. And you gotta be in tip top shape if you want to go win, because those dudes are good.
Definitely, definitely. And one of the things leading up to the Olympic trials, Coach Sarah and I would always mention that the 112-pound division was just stacked with talent up and down. Everybody was just, the little guys, 112. We always, earlier on, it wasn't as noticeable. We usually see middleweight boxers usually kind of, or heavier, but smaller weight class. It was like Rashid Warren, and that was it. Like now, there's like everybody in that bracket
Yeah.
is a very talented boxer. So, uh, looking back at all your bouts, 40 plus bouts, do you have a memorable bout, or a bout that you learned a lot from, or anything that stands out when you look back at what you've done so far?
I mean, well, I fought Terry Washington. That's who I lost to in the Olympic trials. But I think I learned a lot from that fight. Like I feel like I've gotten a lot better since that fight, from fighting him. And like I can see why he's a winner. Like well, right now he's doing good, and I can see how that come out of. And it's like, dang, I was in the ring with him. Like pretty cool. But I definitely learned a lot from that fight.
Yeah, definitely. Terry Washington has been on a tear lately, doing everything, internationally, nationally, and all that. So definitely being sharing the ring with him and kind of picking up all that. While amateur is a great platform to learn, right? You're not going to win them all, right?
Yeah.
That's the point of just kind of gaining experience, and facing somebody like that, make you look back. But obviously, you're a boxer, so you're competitive, right? You want to win them all. That's just kind of how you have to approach the sport. Uh, but when you do get those setbacks, right? When you're moving through the tournament, and then you don't get the outcome that you're looking for to get deeper in the bracket there. Um, how do you take that? What are those conversations with coach? How's that ride home? Um, to make sure you keep everything in perspective and just get ready for the next one. But how do you process something like that?
I mean, losing is always, for me, it's tough. Like I hate losing, but I think the only thing you could do from losing a close fight, losing bad, is the only thing you can do is get better. Like there's always stuff you could work on. Like I see people lose close fights and they're like, "Oh, we got robbed," but I feel like you got to get better. Like you can't let it be close. But that's how I see it. I just think you got to get better, and then you go to a tournament and you're not on their level. Well, at least you got to get better. Like you got to catch up. That's how I see it. When I would go, like that's how I would see. I knew I would get there eventually, but I wasn't there yet. So just staying consistent in the gym and staying focused.
There you go, consistent. That's a key word. Just being there, right? Just showing up to the gym is half the battle sometimes, and that just kind of instills the discipline and just the kind of attitude you need to have. Well, you're in the ring, and maybe things are not going your way, and to be able to have that mental stability to be able to switch things around, on the fly there. So, but you mentioned it, when you started to compete, sometimes maybe the nerves got a little crazy right before the bout and whatnot, and especially with boxers who are just starting, a lot of novice boxers gets a little, everybody, who wants to get punched in the face, right? Like it's one of those things. But in your experience, how would you, what would you tell a young boxer that's just starting off that has all these nervous things? Like, what would you tell them to kind of keep that in check?
Just the preparation. You gotta train. You gotta train right, and that's I really think that's the only thing you could do is if you train right, you won't be as nervous because you'll be confident in yourself.
There
You
you
won't.
go. Yeah. It's kind of repetition, right? You got to make sure that you're doing the things right, and then at the time of the competition comes, you're just trying to execute what you guys been working on. So,
Yeah.
um, yeah, let's go to last year. You had a good year last year. Let's talk about Summer Festival in specific. Tell us a little bit about the build up to that tournament, right? The tournaments before, maybe you didn't get the decision you wanted to, but in the Summer Festival, that was a whole different scenario. You ended up competing 3 times, but tell me, was there anything different in training camp, getting ready for the Summer Festival last year?
So I had got bronze in the Golden Gloves right before it, and I was like, let me just go to the Summer Festival. I'm already in shape, and it was like a last minute thing. It was like I think I registered on the last day, and I was like, yeah, whatever, let's go. But yeah, it was a fun tournament. My first fight was the hardest fight though. It was against Gilberto Valdez.
Valdez, right?
Yeah, but I hurt my arm. It like got twisted in the first fight. It like was weird, but it was hurting the whole week. It was hurting, but I figured it out, and yeah, I was able to win it. But that was a fun tournament.
Definitely. Had you had to deal with some adversity like that when you were not 100%, and especially something like that when you kind of get maybe hurt or tangled or injured during the bout? Have you ever had to deal with something like that and still had to push forward?
Yeah, well, I've had a few fights where I've gotten sick, like a cold or flu, but I think that was the first time I had like an injury like that, but I was able to push through it, luckily.
Any thoughts coming in, like saying, you know what, maybe I'm not gonna keep on going, or not? You were just like, let's keep on fighting.
I never thought about it, but I remember when I heard it, I was like, we were in the car and I was like massaging it, and my coach was like, "What's wrong with your arm?" And I was like, "Oh, nothing." He's like, "Nah, what's wrong with it?" And I was like, "Oh, it hurts." And he's like, "All right." And we went to the store and got a bunch of ice packs and medicine, but I didn't want to say nothing. But he was like, "Well, we'll figure it out."
Okay, all right, there you go. Eh, that's the kind of mentality you need to have. Just kind of push through and go
Yeah.
for it. But it's always good to have a coach there to kind of
Yeah.
at least guide you and see what's going on. So that Summer Festival, you ended up competing 3 times. Gilberto Valdez, you ended up being in the first rounds or in the first bout. Second bout, you went up against a talented fighter in Peter Frakes out of Ohio. And
Yeah.
then in the finals, you compete against Amos Thang out of Indiana, who was also in the trials. Peter Frakes was also in the trials. But just, you know, tell us about that. You go through the bout, you compete against Amos Thang, and then you get your name called at the end. Got the decision. You got everything it was worth it, right? You got that medal. How was that feeling, and how did it kind of feed you to make sure not now you got the Olympic trials to worry about? Like, tell us a little bit about that after you get that win.
I was confident going into the tournament. I was pretty confident, but it felt a lot better after when it was done because my arm was hurting, especially in that last fight. It was hurting, but it felt really good. And then that was the first national I won, and it was like my dad called me, and I was like, dang, like I really won a national. I didn't. My dad told me, he said when we first went the year before, he said I never thought you would win a national. He said I just thought it was just we're just gonna go for experience. He said, but I didn't think we're gonna win it. So it felt good. It felt good to win it. But yeah, then after it was like, all right, you qualified for the Olympic trials. Like now you got to get better. Now it's like these are the best, really like the best dudes.
Yeah, most definitely. Again, one of the just most competitive brackets in there. Now, tell us a little bit about from the end of the summer festival, essentially to December, right? It was all about Olympic trials. I saw that you had local CBS station do a story on you and coach. So people were knowing what was happening. So was training camp a little bit different? Like you were trying to do it just like any other camp? Like, uh, uh, how long was it? Just tell us a little bit about that preparation into, a tournament that is bigger than just the nationals, right? Like it's bigger than just the national championships.
I mean, it was like felt good getting a lot all the recognition from and seeing all the hard work pay off. But it was I knew I didn't want to burn myself out, but I knew we had to go hard. So I think the training camp. Well, I was in the gym until the, like from the summer to the Olympic trials, but I think about 6 weeks out, then we turned it up, and it was a lot more intense. But yeah, I think that the main difference was that the the level. I knew the level of competition was going to be a lot higher because this really did mean something. It was the Olympic trials happens like every 4 years, so
Right.
I think
Right.
a lot of it was mental. The training, it was I was pushing myself.
Yeah, definitely, and I'm glad you brought that up because one of the things that we kind of like an ongoing question we trying to answer within the sport is that mental aspect of it, right? A lot of it is perfecting the craft, a lot of repetitive doing drills and all that stuff, but you got to be mentally prepared to execute, right? Because the other person across from you also wants to win, also has been training and doing all that. So, say you're getting your hands wrapped, right? You're a couple bouts out, you're just kind of getting ready. What do you do to get ready to go through those ropes?
I mean, for me, I get nervous. I still get nervous, but it honestly for me it's all like in the training. Like if my training was good, I don't really I'm not too worried. It's just like sparring to me. But I will say that I like fighting at the nationals more than I like fighting it here like in these local shows. I feel like it's more like controlled and relaxed. But but yeah, but for it's all in the training for me. I feel like your preparation you like you can't really change much once you're in there. Like the change had to happen weeks ago if you
Yeah,
wanted to change something major.
yeah, definitely key. Real quick, 3 rounds live, number 188. We're talking to David Delgado out of Woodland, California. Currently number 7 at Elite Male 112. Uh, just competed at the regional Golden Glove, so you're staying active after the trials and doing all that. But let's talk Olympic trials now. Beforehand, I don't know how much you were aware of. Uh, Essentially, the spots were already kind of secured, right? The people who were at Team USA were pretty much a team that ended up being the selection team. So it was a little bit. Well, tell me. Let me get your reaction on that. When you knew that maybe the shot wasn't really there, did that change anything when you were working to compete?
For me, it really didn't because I still had like I know I knew what was going on, but I was like let's just go win it anyway, whatever. Like, but I knew what was going on, but it didn't really change much for me because I still wanted to go win it.
Definitely, because some everybody took it a little different,
Yeah,
regardless of what it is, and it was like you said, out of your hands anyways. Like
yeah.
it is the situation, but uh, so you went through training camp and did all that. Now December got here, right? It's Olympic trials. You see the banners, you got the pictures in the beginning with the whole bracket. Like now what's happening? How did anything change? Were you just kind of set and walk us through your first bout? You competed against Canario Davidson out of Alabama slash training out of Colorado at that time. Uh, how did you approach? How did you feel being the first bout? Sometimes being the first bout can be a little, you want to get the rust off and all that good stuff. Just walk us through that first bout.
So I wasn't that nervous, but I knew it was a big deal. but I had trained probably the hardest of my life, like for that tournament. So I was confident, but the first fight, yeah, I don't like being I never like being the first fight. But I remember when they did the draw and they said I was fighting on Monday, I was like, I was mad. I was like, I wanted to fight on Tuesday, but that fight was cool. I think I could have. I feel like I won pretty easy, but I think I could have done a lot better that fight. But I wanted to get the stoppage, but I don't want to talk smack. But yeah, it was a good win. But yeah.
Okay, yeah, definitely. And just to remind everybody who's not aware, everybody had to win to get to this tournament, right? So
Yeah.
you were competing against boxers who were winning, who did win nationals and do all that stuff. So every win is a big win, right? In my book, and that's how it happened. So you got that first bout out of the way, right? Sometimes boxers just kind of want to get that one out of the way. You got the win. You're feeling good, looking good. Now you're going up against the number 3 seed in the bracket there. Did the approach change, knowing who you were going to compete? Like, walk us through that bout, and how you felt, and ultimately how you had to deal with the result at the end.
So that fight, I was still pretty confident. I didn't really think that he was that good, but yeah, it was a good fight. He Terry could adapt good, and he's mean in there. Like not used to seeing it like that, but I was confident, and then he won, and then I was like, no, Terry. I was like, he's pretty good. I even told my dad, I was like, he's probably gonna win the tournament, and then he went on to win it. But getting out, it was after I had seen he won it. I was like, all right, I think I put up a pretty good fight with him. I think he had a. I don't think it was easy for him to beat me, and I won't say I won, but I won't say that I agree with the scores. I didn't think the scores were like that, but
Yeah, and it does say something about your quality and your competitiveness when your only defeat was against the person who won the whole thing, right? So
yeah,
it was against anybody else that got knocked out, or whatever. Is against the person who won that. And uh, one of the things that I always have issues with is that a lot of not a lot, the Olympic trial bouts are not accessible, right? They don't have them
yeah.
out there and do all that stuff. So as far as scores and all that stuff, we can't see it. You know what I mean? So it's one of those things that's unfortunate. Hopefully they change it because they should see this. They should be able to see what happened and transpired. But okay, so the Olympic trials happened, and went to the tournament. Like I said, didn't get the outcome that you wanted to, but usually after the Olympic trials, a lot of boxers start turning pro, right? We had Lugo just go pro not too long ago. Steven Navarro just went, pro not too long ago. Is that pro whispers going around you? Like, is that the logical next step for you, or what do you have planned? Do you have anything left to prove at the amateur level?
I think that for me, I think I only have 40 amateur fights, but I've gone to a lot of tournaments, and I think that I think I'll be good to go pro because my fights have been against national champions. A lot of my fights have been like real tough fights, and I feel like I got the right team around me. Like my coach, he got all the experience in the pros, but yeah, for me it's around the corner. It's just around the corner for me, and I'll probably this year for sure. Probably by the end of this month, this summer, I'll be looking to turn pro.
Okay. Will we be seeing you at any other tournaments, or is you said you were just talking about the regionals? Golden Gloves was that the last tournament for you?
Yeah, so I won the regional Golden Gloves for Northern California,
Mm-hmm.
and well, but the weight cut was hard and to get to 112. So I was gonna go to the States, but I was getting down in weight, and I was like, I think my body outgrew this weight class, so I didn't compete in the States for the Golden Gloves. So
Mm-hmm.
so yeah, I'm probably gonna go pro and move up in weight.
Okay, all right. It's kind of like a farewell to your amateur journey here, and like you said, you started in 2019, which probably not the best time because 2020 kind of just
Yeah.
stalled for about a year and a half, and didn't really have a nationals till March of the following in 2021. So it's uh, but you did compete against some of the better boxers that USA Boxing has to offer. And when I go on your feed, on Instagram or whatever, I see the picture right there next to Freddie Roach, at the Wild Card Boxing Gym out there. So when did you start kind of sparring pros and just being around pros? How did that whole thing with Wild Card come around? So tell us a little bit about your experience or how you've kind of been looking into the pro game a little bit more.
So I started being around pros and sparring pros when I went with my coach Ray Woods 2 years ago. He kind of like he was well sparring. He was around them, closer to them. But yeah, and then we have another pro in our gym. He's 12-0. His name's Malachi Johnson. And then there's where we always go to Kane Sandoval gym. He's 13-0, I think. But yeah, and then Joshawn James. So they're pretty cool, and they've talked to me about it, like about how getting the experience and when I should go pro and stuff like that. But yeah, I spar a lot of pros too. And then uh, I went to Wild Card because last year in the Golden Gloves, after I won states,
Mm-hmm.
they invited everyone, and I went down there and I met Freddie and we got to spar. But Freddie Roach is pretty cool.
Yeah, I have flashback to the all the 24/7 HBO
Yeah,
specials. Like everything was literally happening at the Wild Card
yeah,
Gym, and just because of how massive Manny Pacquiao was back then, and I'm assuming that whole experience must have been just real great for you. Uh, Tell me a little bit about when you do spar some of these pros. What's the biggest differences, the biggest kind of change tweaks that you have to make to really adapt yourself to the pro game? Because they might have boxing in the same word, but amateur boxing and pro boxing, two totally different.
yeah. I feel like amateur boxing is more about getting points and moving and stuff. And I think in the pros, the gloves are smaller and it's easier to knock someone out. So your defense gotta be better for one because you don't got a headgear neither. But you can knock people out. So I think the main difference is that they look for bigger punches over points. But yeah, well when I spar pros, I think they could go more rounds, obviously. But when I see a pro spar amateur, I see like the amateur always starts super fast, and then the pro starts to take over in the later rounds. But when I spar pros, I think I like to pace myself with a pro because I know like they're not gonna get tired and they're gonna be standing there throwing hard.
Awesome, great. Well, it seems like you're in the perfect place to really start learning this pro game, right? And start developing in the pro style to compete and eventually switch over there. So, well, we talked about your coach Ray Woods, but tell us a little bit more about the gym. Anybody else helping them coach? Who are your teammates? Did you have a couple teammates that you traveled to the nationals with? You mentioned some pros. Like who makes up the whole team, both in the fighters and in the coaches?
Yeah, so we have an assistant coach that helps out. He's pretty good, and then we have the pro Malachi Johnson. He's 12-0. I think 8 knockouts, and then we have a 165 pounder. His name's or 156. His name's Frankie, and then he's ranked at 165. He's number 5. He went to the national championships and got fourth place, I think. But yeah, he's pretty good. He gets a lot of knockouts. And then his brother also trains with us. He's a little bit bigger, but yeah, but they're both like they both get a lot of knockouts, but they're both pretty good. And then we have a small another 112 pounder, but he's 17 and he's pretty good too.
And how does that help you? being around other boxers that want to win, people that are training as hard as you to compete in the amateurs and the pros, like how has that impacted you and your training and just yeah, just the whole training and just learning the sport?
I think it's important to train with people that want to be great, just like you, because for me, like in our gym, we're always competing, like who can go harder, like who's running the fastest, and I think that pushes me to a whole nother level. But yeah, we're always competing between each other, like who hits the bag harder, like who runs faster, who's gonna slow down first.
Yeah,
But yeah, I
yeah,
think that's important to train with other people. That it's intense. It's intense training.
yeah, definitely, and I think you hit right in the head. It is an individual sport, but you don't have to do it alone, right? Like
Yeah.
it's always a little easier to lean on some boxers, especially with the all the trials and tribulations that the sport does bring. Um, so you like you said, you started at 14, and you're 19 now.
20.
20 now. So, you've been in the sport for a few years. What has boxing taught you about yourself?
I mean, about myself, it's really showed me how to work hard and then how to stay disciplined. Like if I wasn't boxing, I don't know what I would be doing. Like I don't know what my life would be about, and it's really kept me. I feel like it's kept me out of a lot of trouble because I had friends and like every time my friends would get in trouble, they would go do something dumb. I would be I'd be like, nah, I can't go. I gotta go to the gym. And but yeah, it has taught me a lot about myself, like where my limits are to push myself. But yeah,
Definitely, and that's key, right? This is a sport where you can't avoid growing, right? As a person, as human, as whatever, because getting up 4 or 5 in the morning to go run. Not everybody can do it, right? Like you gotta commit yourself to doing it, and a sport like this does discipline you in that manner. So uh, when you started the sport, whatever goals you may have had at that point, how have they changed to now? Like, what kind of goals do you have now? What do you see yourself doing with sport in the next few years?
when I started, I always wanted to get ranked. Like that was the one thing is always to get ranked. But right now the to go pro and obviously to win a world title, I think that I want to be the best. I think that if you're gonna do something, you should be the best at it. But that's what I think, and I don't want to be cocky, but that's my goal is just to be the best.
That's it. And you have to have that edge, right? You kind of have to want to just believe that's what you want to do. You want to be the best and you want to be able to execute. That's why you're in the gym. That's
Yeah.
why you're missing all these function or whatever other things because you're in the gym or because you're traveling because of boxing or just decisions revolving around boxing, right? Depending on what boxing's happening, that's how you'll do what you need to do. But let's say when you're not doing boxing, if that's even a situation for you, like when you're not in the gym, what are you doing? Like how I mean, are you playing basketball? Like what's going on?
When I'm not in the gym, I'm always thinking about boxing. Like I'm always looking at Instagram, looking at the fights, looking at what's going on, and I always study boxers. Like this dude beat this dude. Oh, like yeah, but my my dad and my uncles, they build gas stations, so I've been going out and helping them a lot, like just with their side jobs. But that and then when I mainly go out like to hang out with friends is when there's fights. Like, oh, let's go watch the fights, like the boxing fights or the UFC fights. But yeah, pretty much it.
Yeah, so when it's not really a saying anymore. No boxing, no life. Like boxing is,
Yeah.
that is what it is, right? That's it's a lifestyle, and you really have to embrace that when you decide to become a boxer. And um, you know one of the things that we're asking, young boxers like yourself is just because you guys are going to deal with it more in front of your face is the impact that influencer boxing events may have on the sport, right? We have one of the biggest, I don't want to say one of the biggest boxing bouts, but one of the biggest attractions, I guess we would say, when you have Jake Paul against Mike Tyson, that's going to happen not too long from now, or some of these things. Like, how do you think influencers and that kind of show aspect of boxing, how do you think it's going to impact boxing, like yourself, boxers who this is what they do, and they want to claim that green belt or whatever? Like, do you think it's going to have any impact, positive or negative, in your opinion?
It can have a positive and negative effect, because I mean, look at Ryan Garcia. Like, he doesn't have a belt, but he's making a lot of money with no belt, and it's just because he got all those followers and is posting that. Like, I wouldn't want to be posting stuff like him, but he's getting all that attention. And yeah, I think that you could really grow yourself too. Like, social media has become like a big part of this. Like, you could really like get yourself out there with it. But I think it's a lot different now than it was before. But I think it could have a really positive effect though, with like promoting yourself and getting fans and stuff like that.
Yeah, definitely. And I think a lot of people are hoping that's the case, right? Well, USA Boxing is banking on it because they got Jake Paul, at the OTC, doing, I'm not sure what he's doing, but he's doing something. He's out there, and so I guess it's one of those questions that time is going to have to tell kind of what's happening. But you, especially yourself, and boxers like yourself, that's age group, jumping over to the pros, this is going to be much more in your face, right? You're going to have to do interviews like this a lot more frequently with people or promotions and doing all that stuff. So being in front of people, that's what you got to do. And social media is a good way to get out there. So, as we kind of start looking, wrapping up some of these questions here, if you see a young kid going into the gym or kind of considering joining boxing, because boxing is a sport you have to look for, right? It's not a school sport. It's not involved with anything like that. It's an after school. You have to drive sometimes an hour to go to a gym or whatever the case may be. If you see a kid that might be interested in it, how would you sell them to say, you know what, maybe you should give it a shot?
I think it's a tough sport, so I think for me to tell them if they should do it or not, I think they should really think about it, because it's tough, like cutting weight, going to these tournaments, and if you want to take it serious, I think it's a tough sport, but it could be really rewarding also. So I would just tell the kid that if you're gonna do it, just to do it right, and make sure he's training right, and that he really wants to do it for himself, not because his parents are telling him to do it or because he wants to impress anyone. I would say you got to do it for yourself.
Definitely. That's one of the things we mentioned here is you can't want it more than the boxer, right? The boxer is going to want it because he's going to be the one in there, and a lot of people can have good intentions and all that, but at the end of the day, it's an individual kind of decision for that. So real quick, 3 rounds live, number 188. We're talking to David Delgado out of Woodland, California, currently ranked number 7 at 112 pounds. You just mentioned not too long ago that you like following the sport. You kind of keep up with who's competing and all that. If you were able to test your skills against any boxer, pro, amateur, now back old school, like, who would you want to get in the ring and test yourself with?
Well, if we're talking old school, probably my favorite flyweight was probably Michael Carvajal.
Ooh,
so I'd probably want to test myself against him, but that would be tough though.
Hey, but you got to take the test, right? You got to see where you're at, right?
I feel like he's probably one of the greatest flyweights. I'd want to see like how do I match up against that?
Definitely. He's definitely one of the legends of the sport for sure. A lot of memorable bouts that he was involved with for sure. So you kind of ready to go into the pros. Looking back at amateur and all the things that you kind of had to that you did or evolve or had to deal with. If you had a magic wand and could change anything about the sport to improve it, right, for the better, for the next generation coming behind you, what will you change?
Well, I feel like there's a lot of favoritism for one. So probably I don't know how we could change it, but that would probably be the first thing. And then the second thing would be the cutting weight, because I mean you have to cut weight, but that is hard, especially for a week long.
Yeah, yeah. Now you competed at 112. Like, what's your typical walking around weight?
So I was walking around like at 120, but
Okay.
it wasn't hard to get down to 112. It was hard to maintain it for a week long. That was the hard part.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And that's the thing with amateur boxing. It's probably one of the most difficult things is to win some of these national tournaments
Yeah.
because you got to make weight every day. You got to be at the scales 6, 7 in the morning, and you got to make sure that you're there. And if you're over just a little bit,
And I feel like the another problem is that the jump between weight classes, because if you're gonna like the Olympic weights, you go from 112 all the way up to 125. So I think that's another big problem.
yeah. Hopefully they change that. They had to follow USA Boxing had to follow what the IOC essentially kind of set up, and the Olympic Committee, and there's a couple times where the instances, you're asking boxers to jump 13 pounds. That's a big
Yeah.
deal. That's
Yeah.
a big deal. So, so just kind of looking ahead, you're saying, you're looking to go pro now, and one of your captions and one of your most recent posts is, just thinking about the future, and you got big dreams and all that, the make it happen. What's the ideal scenario for you in 5 years? Like, what would be the thing that you would love to be in a position in about 5 years time? But what's that for you?
So I feel like I'm kind of new to like boxing and how everything works, but I know you're not gonna get a world title fight in your first few fights. So I know like it's gonna take a process, but eventually you're gonna get there. So maybe in the next 5 years a world title shot, but you never know what's gonna happen.
Definitely. And just by looking at all the recent pro amateurs that gone pro, the talent is just out of this world. Both male and female, the talent is just amazing. So, as we kind of get my last questions in here, one of the things that I did notice is, it costs money, right, to do all this, right? So sometimes you kind of have to do things like GoFundMe or ask for the
Yeah.
community or doing all that stuff. When you do have to kind of do some of those options, and you see the community show out, right, and support and put the money where the mouth is, all that good stuff. Like, how does that make you feel when they actually want to see you win? They're rooting for you.
I mean, yeah, it feels it's motivating because you got people that you gotta make proud, and it's like, damn, they really believe in me. That's how I see it. Like, it adds fuel to the fire. Like, they really believe in you. Like, you got to do something about it.
Awesome. And most of the people you talk to, they regardless of the result, they already seen that it's really had a positive impact on yourself, and you can only you're going to be a reflection of that, as a good citizen moving forward outside of boxing, beyond boxing, you'll just be a good person with that. So, so we'll definitely be looking out for that pro transit. You're saying this year, so that'll be exciting. And I won't let you, disclose anything you don't want to, because it's a lot of that stuff is kind of happening. But go ahead and give how can people follow you? I know you're on Instagram, but where can people follow your journey, especially when you're going into the pros now?
Yeah, so I'm on Instagram a lot and Facebook. So my Instagram's David.J.Delgado, and then my Facebook's the same, David J Delgado. But yeah, you
Okay.
can just follow me on there, and I'll keep everyone updated.
Awesome. Awesome. Do you have a nickname yet?
Uh, I do, but I don't know.
Oh, okay. So you're not sure yet. Okay.
Yeah,
You
we'll
know,
see.
because that becomes a thing. That will be attached to you. So
Yeah,
you got to make sure that you're right with that. So, uh, no, that's that's great. Like I said, I appreciate you taking the time to talk to us here for a little bit, and just kind of see what you've been doing, what you're looking ahead to. Um, but go ahead and give out those shout outs, those thank yous to people that have helped you get to where you're at so far.
yeah. So I want to shout out my dad. His name's David too. My two uncles, my Tio Juan and Tio Alex, and then my coach Ray Woods. And then my barber, he's my best friend. His name's Christian, but shout out to him too.
There you
Yeah.
go. That definitely have to shout out the barber, man. You gotta stay
Well,
nice.
we like he's big into boxing too. Like we go out to the fights a lot too and stuff like that.
There you go.
Yeah.
The perfect barber, the one
Yeah.
that's involved
I
with
met him
boxing.
through boxing. I met him.
Oh, really? There you go. There you go. Those are always good. So, and there's definitely a lot of things happening in boxing. I'm sure you heard the breaking news today with Ryan Garcia and that
Oh,
whole thing
yeah.
that's happening about.
I don't like Ryan no more.
Yeah. You know what? I gotta wait and see because
Yeah.
Alicia Baumgartner had the whole situation happen. So let's see what happens. But
Yeah.
um, if it does become true, that's just another reason for other people to say that's why I shouldn't be watching or they go to a different sport.
Yeah.
And the thing is that we're competing against UFC. All types of other, but bare knuckle boxing is a thing now. Like there's a lot of things that are happening where we don't want to give boxing a black eye, but we'll see what happens. That's something that jump out. So that's all I got. Real quick program. We're gonna have Nayeli Rodriguez next week. We're gonna talk to her and see what's going on. We'll have Coach Terry back on, and we'll just keep going. Appreciate everybody that tuned in to the end. If not, we're gonna post it. You guys will be able to see it from the beginning and just really listen to David's story and then what he's trying to do and then where he's trying to go. And this is 3 Rounds Live, the only podcast solely dedicated to amateur boxing. So that's all I got, champ. So we'll just keep going. We'll keep in touch. And as soon as you make that pro announcement, we'll make sure to share it and be excited to see what you're doing in the pros. So with that,
thanks for having me.
No problem. I appreciate you jumping on and we'll go from there. So it's only maybe 6 o'clock, 6:30 out there. It's pitch black out here. So we'll leave it at that.
I'm about to jump in the gym.
There you go. Hey, that's what you got to do. That's how a boxer should be talking. So you have a good night, everybody who tuned in. I appreciate it. And we'll see you guys on Thursday. Take it easy, man.
Thank you.